When was the last time you fell and stayed down longer than you needed to? Not because you couldn't get up, but because getting up meant starting again. But here's what I've learned. You don't have to start again. You continue from exactly where you fell. The fall is not lost in time. It's an experience you did not have before it happened. It counts. The only thing worth avoiding is falling over again at the same spot twice, because the second fall becomes a choice. I thought a change environment would help me fix it. New location, same script, same problem. Different table, familiar struggles. I've been rewriting for days, tweaking and adjusting scenes, moving the dialogue around, trying to make it work, but nothing's landing. And then I realized something. I'm still heading in the same direction, hoping to end up somewhere new. Every year we do this. A trip to the Lake District. Leave London, 7 hours. Often we take 2 stops. A lot of questions from the back seats about how much further. But the moment the city disappears in the rear view, something in me exhales. This is Easter, family time, and I told myself this trip was about them. And I meant it. And for a moment, just a moment, I forgot about the script entirely. Here's what makes the rewrite difficult. See, the original was not broken. If it had been broken, then this would be easier. You fix what failed. But it worked. It had weight, and it earned its place in the story. And now I have to move on from it anyway. Not because it failed, but because someone who was part of the vision is no longer available. And that's fine, and that's fair, and that's filmmaking. It happens. But when that happens, when a key piece of the story walks out of the door through no fault of the story itself, you have 2 options. You find a way to fill the gap, or you find a way to change the shape of it. You see, filling the gap is the obvious move, the comfortable one. But I keep coming back to the same feeling. What if the gap is actually a door? What if the absence of one perspective opens space for a different one? One that serves the story in ways I hadn't considered before. So today I decided to climb a mountain. I've got the wrong footwear on. I knew before I left the cottage, but I went anyway. Standing at the bottom, looking up at how far there was to go, it brought me back to 2010. Sitting down to write my first book. No training, no roadmap, no idea where any of it would lead. Every milestone on this journey felt like this moment. Not fully prepared, never quite ready. But something keeps overriding that reasonable voice. And it was the love of story. That is the only honest answer I've ever had. Not the strategy, not the ambition, just the love of storytelling. Every step harder than the last, but each one representing something. A book, a film, a room full of people who felt something they could not articulate before they walked in. And then this script, this film, this story, Stolen Dreams legacy. The highest I've ever had to climb as a creative. This journey is beyond me alone, and I may need to walk in the shoes of others to get to the top. There's something about watching your children that makes you want to walk in their shoes just for a moment. The freedom, the joy, having all of your needs taken care of. But standing here, watching them, I'm reminded of the ultimate responsibility: to nurture, to protect, to provide, to guide, to create memories in the short time that we have in this life together. See, we are all writers, every single one of us. We shape the story of our lives daily. Every decision we make, we can write joy into it. We can write purpose into it. The plot twists, those are rarely ours to control. But how we react, that shapes the ending. That is how we will be remembered. They are the reasons the work matters. Every word, every rewrite, every early morning and late night. So even when it's hard, even when the path shifts beneath me, I keep climbing. I keep finding a way. Every step forward matters. So I keep climbing. There's a moment on every climb where you stop, not because you're giving up, but because your body demands an honest conversation with your mind. All the way up here, the script was climbing with me. Every step, a scene. Every pause, a question. And somewhere between the bottom of the mountain and right here, my thinking changed. Because here's what I know about stories. When something is taken away, the instinct is to replace it. Same function, different face. But that's not the writing I want to do. That's filling a gap. For me, real writing asks, what does the absence reveal? What does the story know now that it couldn't see before? And this answer has been sitting in the trilogy the whole time. I just needed to get high enough to see it. Everything I wrote before the climb, I thought it was wasted. It wasn't. It was the hallway. Because buried inside what I already had was the connection I could not see from where I was standing. In every story, there's a perspective that exists within the world you've built, present the whole time, sometimes never centered. And when you find it, you do not feel like you've invented something new. You feel like you've finally seen something that's always been there. See, that's the difference between filling the gap and finding the missing link. Filling the gap feels cosmetic. Finding the missing link changes the architecture of the story. What I found does not replace what was lost. It deepens what remains. And for this trilogy, and what Stolen Dreams has always been trying to say, it might be the most important creative decision I have made. I'm not quite ready to share and show the entire picture at this stage, but when you see it, you understand why it had to be done this way. Now I know what I need to do to finish this script. And this feeling, I wish I could bottle it. Flow state. When the words stop fighting you and start flowing through you, the dialogue feels real, the emotions earned, every line landing exactly where it should. I'm proud of this. Not of where it's going, of what it took to get here. See, the strange thing about getting somewhere, it just shows you how much further there is to go. And I'm not saying that because I'm scared or afraid of the next phase. I say it because it feels more like hunger. So for now, the script is finished. I've closed my laptop, paused, then I look up. I came here to write. That was the goal, and I got it done. Right here in this spot with this view behind me. But standing here, I realize this is not the top of the mountain. Not even close. Something in me is not ready to go back down. I broke sweat getting to this point. But I feel like I have more in me. So we go again. The Lake District gave me something I did not know I needed. Not the views, not the clarity, not even the script. Time. With people who reminded me why any of this matters. My children do not care about Stolen Dreams' legacy. They do not care about the rewrites or the financing or the missing links. For a few days, in the midst of all of this, I was fully watching them run through the woods, no weight, no worry, no awareness of how complicated life becomes. I felt something I do not feel enough, which is gratitude. For them, for this, for the fact that the struggle has a face and a laugh and a reason. I came here with a problem I could not solve at a desk back in London, and I'm leaving with more than a script. I'm leaving reminded of who I'm doing this for, why I'm doing this. Legacy will be made, not because the story deserves to be finished, but because one day they will watch it, and I want them to see what their father was willing to climb for. A beautiful struggle. It's still a beautiful thing. Next week, we're going back into financing with a new strategy of how to raise more funds. See you next week.